Everything that I've shown you so far is everything that you'll do before closing. And that's the transaction packet process, compiling all of the transaction documents and getting them into our compliance team so you can head straight into closing without any holdups. Now that we've outlined that, we're going to kind of shift gears, and I'm going to show you what happens after closing. After you've submitted all of your transaction paperwork, how do you get paid, and what should the title company be doing, and things of that sort. So if there aren't any other questions, we're going to keep on moving. We're going to jump into the payroll procedure now. So on our outline, we just went through 4A and B, and then C here is just a recap of everything. When a document is completed by both parties, add a dot loop so we can jump into your transaction throughout the process. And then about a week before closing, submit for final review in dot loop to our compliance team. That's where we're at here. And then new licensees, be sure to submit each contract to Todd and Stacy before your client signs. Send via dot loop or email to contracts@equity-usa.com. Just another quick review there. All right. So equity payroll process, everything that happens after closing, that's what we're going to talk about here. So if you recall, I kind of led you up to this procedure where you're supposed to be submitting your commission disbursement and wire instructions form to the title company a few days before closing. That's kind of where we're at now in this procedure. That's where we're going to pick up our discussion. So we're going to quickly review. Before we can legally pay you guys, you have to complete everything we just walked through in the first half of class. That's what this is saying here. Your transaction packet must be approved before closing. And the reason we want you guys to submit your paperwork about a week before closing is because if you go to closing and the deal closes and we have all of your wire information and we're getting ready to get you paid, if your transaction packet hasn't been approved or if it's missing a couple items, we have to have those items submitted and approved by our compliance team before we can legally pay you. So by staying proactive and submitting your packet a week before closing, that gives us plenty of time to process the file. That way, when we get your commission wire and the settlement statements after closing, you're going to get paid 1 business day after the closing takes place. It's going to be a very, very quick process. So that's the precursor. That's where we're at right now in the procedure. And you've submitted all your documents. Now you're headed towards closing. Here's what you need to know. So we're on B right now. The documents needed from the title company after your closing takes place. There's only 2 items we need after your closing takes place. We need the completed commission disbursement and wire instructions form, which again, it's a reminder, it's the same form that we've been discussing from your transaction packet earlier. So that's this form, just so you can see the visual of it. So we need this completed form from the title company. And then we also need the final signed settlement statements that show your commission. So you guys should know what the settlement statements are. It's just a breakdown of all the money behind a transaction. It shows the final sales price, the commissions being paid to the agents. You guys remember from your real estate schooling, the title company will provide you with settlement statements, and it's your guys' responsibility to make sure the numbers look accurate. And once you go to closing, your client will sign those settlement statements, and that's what we need after the closing takes place. Those are the 2 documents we need: settlement statements and a completed commission disbursement and wire instructions form. All right. Before we dive into the form and how to have the title company complete this procedure, I want to give you a general overview of how this payroll procedure works. That way, when we go to explain the commission disbursement and wire instructions form to you guys, it's a little easier to see why we're requesting the things we're requesting from you guys and the title company. So here's how our payroll process works. So several agents, they go to closing. They go to closing and they complete everything, and the title company wires the total commission to equity. So right here, number 1, several commission wires are sitting in Equity's bank account. We just have a gigantic pool of money. All your guys' commissions are being sent to that account. which is this account here on the commission disbursement and wire instructions form. So there's a pool of money, and we can't identify your wire from any other equity agent's wire until we get a completed commission disbursement and wire instructions form from the title company. And here's why. The title company, let me zoom in on this since this is our main focus. The title company is going to wire your commissions to our bank account. And again, we can't locate your wire unless the title company fills out these fields right here. So the way we pull your wire out of that gigantic pool of wires is we type in our little bank account system, we type in your total wire amount. So we're matching it up by the number. So say it's $9,561. We're going to find a wire in that amount. The next thing we confirm is the wire date. We can see when the title company wired your commission to us, but because they're filling in this field. And so when we have the total wire amount and it matches the same wire date, that's a pretty good sign that that wire is for your transaction. But to be extra safe, the title company will also fill in the sending bank name. So every title company has their own bank. And so they're going to fill it in, whether it's US Bank or First American Trust or whatever that bank is. Now we have 3 factors here to match your wire. So it's pretty obvious to us that this wire belongs to you based on these 3 fields. That's how we're matching your wire and pulling your funds out amongst several other equity agents' commission wires. That's what we're doing here behind the scenes. That's why this form is so important. The last 3 fields, these are just helpful for us because we want to know the title company's, the escrow officer's name in case we need to call them for any clarification. We need to know the title company name, so First American, Land Title, and we need to know the escrow officer, the closer's direct phone number. That's why we tell them to fill out all 6 of these fields. So that's how we're identifying your wires behind the scenes. The last little detail I want to introduce to you guys. We have a payroll cutoff of 2 p.m. And that simply is because banks stop sending wires at 2 p.m. So this comes into play because if we receive the commission disbursement and wire instructions form along with those settlement statements from the title company after 2 p.m., well, it's too late because our bank can't process any wires after 2 p.m. So therefore, you would fall onto the following day's payroll processing. So I'm going to fill in some more details there, but that's all I want you to know at this stage. I'm just setting you up for how to explain this procedure to the title company. So you guys with me? I want to make sure you guys are following along. Okay, good. Thank you. Thanks for confirming. So now on our outline, we're right here. Title company instructions. So the most difficult process in this procedure is making sure that the title company completes this commission disbursement and wire instructions form correctly, and that they send it to us along with a copy of the final signed settlement statements after closing. But to stay proactive, we've created detailed instructions for you guys to send to the title company 3 or 4 days before your closing. So that gives the closer plenty of time to study up on our procedures and make sure that they're following this process correctly. So that's what we're going to look at now. So I am actually going to pull this up over here. I have a separate slide for it so we can see it side by side. So we have our, oh, excuse me, I hit my watch on the table there. I did send you this document in email. So you have this in that email that I sent you guys. And if you can't find this, we also have it in our Facebook group. It's back there on Elevate, and I'm happy to send this to you as well. But what this is, these are our commission disbursement and wire instructions form, title company instructions. So this here is an email that you can copy and paste to the title company, and you're going to attach your commission disbursement and wire instructions with that email. and it explains the process from start to finish on how the title company should be processing your commission after closing. So we're going to read through this in its entirety to make sure we're ironing out all the details so there's no confusion here. So starting off, it says, in order to get paid quickly, Equity Colorado requires a completed commission disbursement and wire instructions form and the final signed settlement statements from the title company after your closing. The trickiest part is the commission disbursement and wire instructions form. It contains important wire information that allows our payroll team to locate your wire and get you paid. To ensure that the commission disbursement and wire instructions form is completed correctly by the title company, please send the following instructions to the escrow officer in charge of closing your transaction. This part's very important in red here. It says, note that due to an increase in wire fraud, many title companies will not accept wire instructions over email. Your best bet is to present your commission disbursement form in person. Regardless, the email template below will help explain it to your closer. So I'm the kind of person who likes to be thorough no matter what. I recommend emailing this information to your title rep or to your escrow officer before your closing. That way it's on their radar. They have an email that tells them, oh, there's a little procedure I need to follow. That being said, don't be surprised if you get a response from the title company that says, hey, Janet, I can't accept these wiring instructions over email because there's so much wire fraud going on. They'll probably ask you, bring this commission disbursement and wire instructions form with you to closing so I can confirm this information with you in person so I know it's legitimate. So to summarize, I recommend sending this email no matter what. Even if they reject it, they still know the procedure and they will read through this so they know what to expect on our process. So reading on, this is the actual email to the escrow officer now. So it says, hello, escrow officer. In order for me to receive my commission for this closing, my brokerage, Equity Colorado, requires the attached form to be completed and returned to copayroll@equity-usa.net. And that's where you're going to attach your commission disbursement and wire instructions form to that email. Reading on, it says, please note there are 6 fields on the right side of this form that need to be completed by you. And we kind of already recapped those. The total wire amount, the date the wire was sent, the name of the bank sending the wire, the title rep or escrow officer name, the title company name, and the title company phone number, again, in case we need to reach out to them for any clarification. Reading on, in asterisks, this part's important. It says, please note that my client has agreed to pay a 4-year document storage and access fee in the amount of $60 to Equity Colorado. Please place this fee as a line item charge on the settlement statement, collect the $60 at closing, and add the $60 to my commission wire. I'm going to pause here for a second. Do you guys remember the document storage and access fee form that we talked about from our listing packet checklist, and I showed you the form itself? This little paragraph is included there in case you are charging your clients for that $60 fee. And I want to take a break here and explain that procedure. So it says, please note my client has agreed to pay the 4-year document storage and access fee for $60. At closing, the title company is going to collect that $60 from your client. They're going to add it as a line item charge on the settlement statement, so it's shown that that $60 was collected from your client. And then they're going to add it to your total wire amount. So looking over here under the commission disbursement and wire instructions form, it says total wire amount, commission plus any fees. So for example, say you're receiving a commission of $10,000. If you're charging the $60 to your client, we're going to have a wire of $10,000, but title is also going to collect that $60 from your client, and they're going to add it to the total commission wire for a total of $10,000 plus the $60. So we're at $10,060 right here. That way, when we process the file, we're going to subtract that $60, and it's going to bring you back down to the $10,000 commission that you started with. That's how we process that $60 fee. So it is imperative that if you're charging your client the $60 doc storage fee, that you make sure that the title company knows to collect that 60 and add it to your total wire amount. If they don't do that correctly, we're going to take your $10,000 wire and we're going to subtract $60 from your commission amount. That's why this is very, very important. Questions, concerns, anything you want to talk through on that procedure? Okay.
Do you know if most people charge their clients that $60 as a general
They do.
rule?
They do, yes.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, who am I speaking with? I only see a phone number. It doesn't show me who's on.
Oh, it's Jenny.
Hey, Jenny.
I had to connect through my phone for some reason.
Oh, I'm with you. No worries. Jenny, great question. Most agents do charge that fee to their clients.
Okay.
Just that's a time when you would present that form to them when you sign a listing agreement or a buyer agency agreement. That's the perfect time when you're going through all of the things that you're going to be doing for them as their agent. That's when you present them with that form that says,
okay,
we're going to store all your files on a server for 4 years for you.
Okay.
Great question.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. That actually leads us to our next talking point. You'll see in parentheses on the title company instructions here, it says, remove the paragraph above if you are paying the $60 fee for your clients. So Jenny, if you didn't want to charge your clients, you wouldn't even have to mention this from the title company. You wouldn't have to mention this to the title company, excuse me, because we'll just take that scenario, $10,000, we'll just subtract the 60 automatically from your commission. The title company doesn't even need to know about that $60 doc storage fee at that point if you are paying it for your clients. So.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, yeah, great question. Reading right along, then it goes in to say, if any of the fields on the commission disbursement and wire instructions form are left blank, these fields here, my brokerage, Equity Colorado, cannot locate the wire that you send. It is imperative that all 6 fields are completed. If not, I will not receive my commission until we receive the completed form from you. So I will pause and just let you know, it's the agent's responsibility to make sure that this procedure is explained to the title company correctly. And for some reason, title companies love to just fill out the total wire amount and then they leave the rest of this form blank. I don't know why. I don't know what prompts them to not fill in the other fields here. But if they send the final documents to our payroll team and we do get a copy of this commission disbursement and wire instructions form and it only has the total wire amount, well, that's going to delay you in getting paid. And you'll probably see an email from me or Parker that says, hey, Jenny, we received the title documents from the title company. However, they didn't fill out the entire form. Can you please follow up with the title company to have them complete this form in its entirety? That's how that procedure would work if something's not filled in. So we are doing our job to assist you in this procedure as well. Every day from 11 to 2, Parker and I are watching over the files that make payroll, and we try to stay proactive. So if we do receive an incomplete commission disbursement form, we will contact you right away, well before 2 p.m., that wire cutoff time. So that gives you plenty of time to call the title company and try to get all the information that you need before the payroll cutoff. But just want to highlight that it is your guys' responsibility to track down this information from the title company. And that's hopefully why these instructions will be helpful. So reading on, there's only a couple more paragraphs. In that email, it also says, please send the completed form along with a copy of the final signed settlement statements to copayroll@equity-usa.net. This line is really, really important. Additionally, please copy me on this submission and then enter your email address there so I am aware that the documents have been sent. It says, please be sure that the title company CCs you on their submission to copayroll@equity-usa.net. Chances are, if you haven't received a copy of these documents, our payroll team hasn't received a copy either. Continue to follow up with the title company until you receive the documents yourself and have a confirmation that these documents were sent to copayroll@equity-usa.net. That is probably the most common question we get. We'll have an agent, they'll call us and they'll say, hey, Paul, I just closed a transaction yesterday, but I still haven't gotten paid. Can you take a look? How come I haven't gotten paid on that transaction? And that's when I'll usually respond with, thanks for reaching out. Do you recall getting an email from the title company with the completed commission disbursement and wire instructions form and the final signed settlement statements? And that's when the agent usually says, oh, you're right, I didn't get those forms. They didn't email them to me. That means they didn't send them to copayroll@equity-usa.net either. So until we receive those two documents, we have no idea that your transaction even closed. That's the only notification that we have. Is once we see those settlement statements and commission disbursement come through, we know, okay, that transaction has closed. Let's find the wire and get that agent paid. So it is imperative that the title company copies you and that they follow this procedure correctly. Questions? I'm going to pause before I fill in a couple more details. Okay. The last thing I want to highlight is that theoretically, if you bring this commission disbursement and wire instructions form to closing, this form is so detailed that the title company doesn't even need your email. If they would just read our form, they could follow this procedure perfectly. And so I'll show you just how detailed this is. For title, an attorney, and escrow. Step 1, provide the wire details. They're going to fill that out. Step 2, send the wire using this information. They're going to send your commission wire to our bank following these account reminders. Then down here it says, please include the following in the special instructions memo section of the wire. Agent's name and property address. That's just one more thing that we have available to us to track down the wire. And then step 3, after the wire is sent, email a copy of the final signed settlement statements, this completed form, and as an extra precaution, a bank issued wire confirmation. You guys don't need to worry about that. That's just an extra note for the title company. They know what a bank issued wire confirmation is. And if they read this, they'll send that with your file as well. So send those 3 items in a single email to the following email addresses: copayroll@equity-usa.net, and then equity email address. You're going to fill in your email address there, paul.weininger@equity-usa.com. So if they follow these instructions, they're going to be copying you. They're going to be sending the documents to the payroll team. The only problem there is that sometimes they don't read this form. And that's the biggest frustration with this whole procedure. And that's why you have to kind of walk them through the procedure and make sure they understand it. So just know there are safety nets throughout this entire procedure that will help you and help guide you through this procedure. It's not quite as complicated as it seems. It's just important that you take the time to explain it to make sure it gets done correctly. Questions? Concerns? All right. To wrap up and to finalize everything, I pulled up some real life payroll documents. This was for a real transaction that closed here with Equity. And I like to show you this example because it was done perfectly. The agent explained it to the title company flawlessly. And so this is good just to show you guys what to expect. This is a real life transaction. So we received this from the title company. The title company filled out this section perfectly. Total wire amount, $12,660. This example just happened to work out perfectly because it's even increments of money. You'll see that $60. You can kind of see where I'm going with this. The $60 was added to the total wire amount. We have the wire date, sending bank, First Bank. We know the title rep's name, the land title, and the title company phone number. They did all that perfectly. let's jump down to the settlement statements, and I'll show you what that should look like. So we have the settlement statements for this transaction. You'll see the commission for Equity Colorado Real Estate is listed right here as a line item on the settlement statements, $12,600. So I bet if I keep scrolling down, the title company collected the $60 from the client at closing, and they added the $60 as a line item charge on the settlement statements. Looky there. Equity Colorado Real Estate document storage and access fee, $60. And so they took that commission of $12,600. They added the $60 to the total wire amount. We have $12,660. This one is ready to go. This is an example of a file that would make payroll right then and there because all the numbers match. Everything looks good. Does that help kind of bring it full circle to see how this procedure is completed?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Of course. So that is the entire process of submitting your transaction packet to getting paid. And I just appreciate your guys' patience with my technical difficulties earlier this morning. But is there anything I didn't cover or anything that's not making sense or that you're nervous about? Any concerns that I can address for you?
Not that I know of, Jenny.
Okay. Well, good to hear. Well, keep in mind the first transaction that you complete is always going to be the most tricky just because it's the first time you're seeing all this stuff. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to help you through that transaction. And this class will kind of help set you up for success because now you know the ins and outs. You know all the details. I probably got too detailed. Didn't really need to get that detailed, but it'll pay off when you complete your first transaction.